Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be recommending 5 of the very best roguelike games available on the Xbox series of consoles. Now quickly before we begin, let's define a roguelike. A roguelike is a dungeon crawler characterized by procedurally generated levels. So let's get into it, shall we? First up, let's talk about The Binding of Isaac. This game has been available in various iterations since 2011, but it didn't come to Xbox consoles until the remake, Binding of Isaac Rebirth, in 2014. Loosely based on the early top-down Zelda games, this is a dark and disgusting game full of body horror, horrific enemies, and devilishly difficult bosses. You play as Isaac, a young boy forced to flee to the basement of his house because his mother wants to kill him. You cry tears at your enemies in order to defeat them, and the game often descends into a twin-stick bullet hell as you go deeper. As with many other games of this type, as you progress you unlock more characters, more items, and more powers. However, the game becomes harder as you do better, and if you want to complete everything the game has to offer, you better not make any other plans. There are lots of mechanics to master, including active powers, tarot cards, mysterious pills, runes, and more. Multiple endings are available to unlock, and often very specific conditions need to be met in order to unlock them. As well as the standard difficulty mode, there's also a hard mode and a wave-based mode that is very challenging, but it will help you hone your skills and learn enemy attack patterns. As with any good roguelike, restarting is rapid and you will often find yourself wanting one more go at it before you quit. I've covered this game a lot on the channel before, so if you want to see more, check out some other videos. Next up, let's talk about Neon Abyss. This run and gun shooter was developed by Team 17 and was released in 2020. As you can see, its vivid, brightly coloured art style is great to look at. It's colourful but without being too hectic. You play as various members of the Grim Squad, tasked with exploring the Abyss and killing the new gods and their acolytes. A unique quirk of this game is that as you explore, you will collect eggs, which have the potential to hatch into useful companions as you descend into the Abyss. This can dramatically increase your firepower and improve your chances of survival as you progress. There are several currencies in the game, including crystals, which are used to open certain doors and chests, as well as money, which is used to buy items from the in-game shop. You will also collect keys and grenades, both of which are in very short supply, so you will have to be careful not to waste either unnecessarily. You can also collect faith gems, which you retain after you die and can be spent to unlock characters and temporary items for your next run. Mechanically, the game is tight with logical controls that you'll master quickly. Most of the rooms you encounter will have traps and enemies in them, but nothing respawns, so you're free to move around the map once you've cleared it out. This is made easier with a great teleporting mechanic that ensures you won't be backtracking unnecessarily through empty rooms. If you enjoyed Enter the Gungeon, but prefer side-scrollers to top-down games, this is definitely worth checking out. Some of the weapons are particularly inventive, and it's challenging without being overly punishing. My third recommendation is an often overlooked title called Going Under. Developed by Aggro Crab, it was also released back in 2020 and was also published by the good folks at Team 17. You play as Jackie the Intern, who works for a new startup called Fizzle. You soon discover that the office space was built upon the foundations of other failed businesses, and it's your job to clear those businesses out of the building. Each of these different companies have particular enemy types and items. In this first bit of footage, Jackie is fighting her way through the goblin-like workers of the Joblin Corporation. You can use almost anything in your environment as a weapon, but durability may vary. You can carry several items at a time, however, so it's easy to switch out what you're using to deal with a specific enemy if necessary. The music in this game is a chirpy lo-fi mix of great tracks, and you can even choose to chill out in Jackie's apartment to listen to these songs if you want, and you probably will because some of these tracks are great. I enjoyed this game so much that I 100%ed it, something I rarely have time to do for most games nowadays, but this one is just so much fun to play I wanted to see everything it had to offer. The game is funny too, with a quirky, charming sense of humour that will ensure you'll exhaust all the dialogue with each of your co-workers. There's also some fantastic references to other franchises, including Dark Souls and Portal. As with Neon Abyss, there's a consistent currency that you retain upon death that can be used to unlock various loadouts and upgrades. The game can be played in lots of different ways, and you'll want to experiment to find out what works best for you, whether that's range combat, melee, or relying on various boosts and special abilities. This game really did not get the love it deserved when it came out, so why not go help Jackie before Fizzle goes under? The fourth game I'm going to recommend I did a review for on the channel last year. This is Into the Pit, a fast-paced retro shooter developed by indie studio Null Pointer Games. You are summoned to a cursed village to investigate a demonic portal. Compared to most roguelikes, it's not super long, clocking in at around 10 to 12 hours for full completion, but its retro art style will transport you back to the days of playing the original Doom on the PC. Rather than having you fight Hellspawn, however, this game draws heavily on the eldritch myths of notable novelist H.P. Lovecraft. Despite the small download size and retro aesthetic, the lighting effects in this game are great and make a nice bright change to the greys and greens of most modern shooters. This is a shooter in name only, however. You will not be wielding firearms, but instead shooting fire, and various other elements, out of your arms instead. If you want to see more about this game, then check out my full review on the channel. The final game I'm recommending is the game that inspired this list. Spelunky II has been out on PC since 2020, but it's only just recently been added to the Xbox series of consoles. This new game sees you exploring the moon instead of the desert tomb of the first game. I played the original Spelunky back on the Xbox 360 in 2008, and I loved its twitchy platforming and unique mechanics. In the Spelunky games, you are tasked with exploring a cave system filled with enemies, loot, and traps. It's a solid 2D platformer that reminds me of early PC games like Granny's Garden, but with a much more unfriendly environment. A big part of any roguelike is death, but this game seriously wants to kill you. On some levels, even just standing still for too long at the start can result in death. There's a lot of trial and error in your future if you undertake this game, and believe me, there will be lots and lots of errors. Unlike a lot of other games of this genre, you can play it with up to 4 players, however there's a good chance that it will ruin friendships if you do. I recommend playing this game solo, so the only person responsible for your untimely demise is you. The controls for this game are rock solid too, so if you die you'll only ever have yourself to blame. You start off each new run with 4 bombs and 4 ropes, and you will quickly get through them trying to reach each level's exit. Therefore, you must collect as much loot as you can so that you can replenish your supplies in the shops. One of the things I love most about this game is that if you attack or steal from the shopkeeper, all future shopkeepers will kill you on sight. Not only does this encourage you to remember that stealing is wrong, it'll also discourage you from stealing things unless you absolutely have to. You can unlock shortcuts throughout the game to make it easier for you to reach the final level, however it will take you many hours to get there unless you're a particularly talented player when it comes to platforming. This sequel offers a few new quirks too, such as replacing the damsels in distress in the original game with adorable animals like pugs and kittens. You can also find rideable mounts, and my pro tip for new players is to blow up turkey mounts in the first area for a quick bit of health. I've already put many hours into this sequel, and I recommend you give it a go if you're not prone to snapping controllers in half in frustration. Only patience and dedication will see you through to the centre of the moon. I hope you've enjoyed my list of 5 roguelike games that I recommend for the Xbox consoles. Were there any that didn't make my list that you think deserve to be here? Will you be giving any of these titles a try? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'm going to leave you now with a little more footage from my attempts on Spelunky 2. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Hey, thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and if you want to leave me a comment as well, that'd be awesome. If you want to subscribe, there should be a subscribe orb hovering around my head, along with a bunch of other videos from me. So give them a click and check them out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.